Hi everyone, welcome one and all to episode 101 of A Stitch in Time. Today is Friday, May 24th, 2019. It's a really dark, gloomy day, wet day here in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia. It's a good day to stay indoors and record, although the lighting might not be ideal for that. It just occurred to me, I'm not sure why I feel compelled to tell you what the weather is every time, but there you have it. I thought about recording yesterday, but it was really nice out, at least for most of the day, and I wanted to take advantage of the sunshine, spend a little bit of time outdoors while I could. So I did put this off for a day, and I also thought that might give those of you who wanted to enter the 100th episode giveaway, would give you one extra day to do that. If you're like me, you don't necessarily watch your favorite podcasts when they first come out. I know I can sometimes be days and weeks and even months behind. So anyway, in any case, before I started recording, I did lock that thread, and I used random number generator to pick a number between 2 and 25. We had 24 entries. And as you can see from the screen here, random number generator chose number 12. And that is P was 518, also known as Paula. She comes from Delaware in the United States and has been a long time friend of the podcast. So congratulations, Paula. Thanks so much for taking the time to enter and for all your kind words. We'll be shipping off your prize to you as soon as you send me a private message on Ravelry with your mailing information. So as a reminder, Paula has won the skein of Ocean Wind Knits Sock Merino in the Chilliwack colorway, and Chilliwack is the name of the city where I live. And also there's a little sheepy stitch marker, and this bag with flowers and birds, two of my favorite things that I sewed up. So congratulations again, Paula. Get in touch with me and I'll get that off to you. And let me just take this opportunity to thank all of you who did reach out to me last week, either in the giveaway thread or on YouTube or by private message. Really appreciate all your kind comments. I also appreciated some of you had some questions and suggestions, and I will address those in a future episodes. And I really always appreciate any constructive feedback that I can get, because I don't want this to get stale. But I also want to keep continuing doing what people enjoy about it. So in any case, thanks so much to all of you for your support over the past 2.5 years. 100 years, or 100 years, 100 episodes really feels like quite a milestone. In fact, I gave myself permission today to break into a brand new notebook for the next 100, hopefully 100 plus episodes. So up until now, I've been using this journal to do my show notes in, and I just love this sentiment. Life is a journey, not a destination. I think a lot of us tend to get focused on the long term and forget to, smell the roses along the way. So I every time I use this, it sort of reinforces that idea for me. And I just had a few pages left in here to use up. So I decided to break into this new book that I picked up. I think it was just after Christmas for like a super duper good price. And I just loved how bright and colorful it was. And has a bookmark and everything. And so I've begun, there you go, episode 101. Show notes, and it's so new that the cover won't stay open by itself, so I'm going to use my old journal to weigh it down. A little bit of business also to take care of before we hop into the knitting, and that is a reminder that there is the Shop the Stash Knit Along Crochet Along going on in the Ravelry group. By stash, I mean anything acquired prior to 2019. So you can knit or crochet anything from stash to enter. Because works in progress or UFOs are just stash in another form, because still stash till you actually finish something, in my opinion. So they're included. So if you're working on something, or if you have something tucked away from a long time ago, pull it on out and chat about it in the chatter thread. And when you finish, post a picture of it in the finished projects thread. And I will be drawing prizes from both threads. I still haven't determined just what or how many prizes there will be, but we got lots of time to figure that out. The Cal runs until August 31st of this year. And in the finished projects thread, please limit yourself to one post. And once you finish additional items, just edit your post and add additional projects to it. And that way in the finished projects thread, everyone will have sort of equal opportunity to win. But in the chatter thread, chatter as much as you like, and that will increase your odds of winning a prize. So yeah, that's all the business. Let's get into the knitting, shall we? I finished something this week. I actually finished it yesterday. Or I should say them. They are my Samphire socks. This is the second pattern in the Handmade Sock Society 2 by Helen Stewart. And you've seen me knitting on these for the last, I think just over a month. I just got it in my head that I really wanted to finish the second, so I really put my I want to say nose to the grindstone, but that makes it sound like it was work, and it wasn't. I enjoyed knitting them, but I just decided it was time to get them off the needles. So I really concentrated on them for the past few days and did finish them. And I don't know which one's the first and which one's the second, but I will bring it up a little bit closer to show you. So this sock features a really pretty kind of squiggly lace design down the front of the sock, and then on the back is this broken ribbed pattern. So what I changed was on the pattern itself, the knits and purls from the cuff are offset from the knits and purls on the broken rib at the back, and I liked the idea of them flowing into each other more, and so I did do that. But other than just doing my usual decreases for the toes because I know what fits me best, I think everything else was pretty well knit as written. That's the word I'm looking for. So there we go. Second pattern is done. And I just realized I didn't tell you what I knit them from. So this yarn was from Deep Stash. I won it as part of a knit along years ago. I don't even remember in which group or what I knit in order to win it, but it is from Beyond Basic Knits, the Prima Superwash in Kendall. That's the colorway is Kendall. So I was really happy to finally get a project, find a project that was suitable for it. I had it wound up, so I've obviously tried it for other things and not been happy with it. So finally, the right marriage between yarn and pattern. I'm always happy when that happens. I have a lot of yarn in my stash, as I'm sure a lot of you do, and a lot of the times it's not that I don't like the yarn. Sometimes it's that I like it so much I'm reluctant to knit with it, and I know that sounds silly, but that's how it is. Other times it's really special to me and I want to find just the right project for it, and when I do, it just makes it that much more special. So yeah, I have a lot of old skeins that are just waiting for the right pattern to come along, and I know they will one day, but sometimes it just takes longer than others. I decided, because it's almost summer and the flowers are blooming, I decided to use my flower cup today. And I take my tea with milk, so that's why it looks kind of murky. Maybe not the prettiest background, but I like to use nice cups, whether it looks nice on the outside or not. Works in progress. I feel like I'm really blathering a lot this week. Bear with me. So I am knitting with this skein of Zauberball, crazy Zauberball, that again I've had in my stash for a long time. I bought it in a yarn shop in Bellingham, Washington, years and years ago, and it's so crazy Zauberball, and it is color 1507, which the colorway name on Ravelry for that is Herbstwind, means autumn wind. And as I mentioned last week, German is not a language I am very familiar with, so I know that I do not pronounce things very well when I attempt them. I know last week when I showed this to you, I had reached the point where I had to decide what I was going to do with the heel. And after much deliberation, I decided to do an afterthought heel. So I put in some waste yarn at this location, and then I knit for a little while longer, and then I took yarn from the other end of the ball and inserted this afterthought heel. So I really like these socks. My favorite color is red to begin with. I also really like red and black and red and gray, and so even though this also has kind of a tealy blue in there, I'm just really loving how they're knitting up. So I finished this one, and then I cast on number 2 and have started my way, whoops, down the leg. A lot of this sock I've been knitting while we've been sitting outside, sometimes by the fire table, and it's just a great, one of those great projects for knitting while you're chit-chatting with other people or watching TV or driving in the car. So yeah, there's the progress there. So I will say in passing, I did last night pick up my Light Ease again, and I worked, I don't know, maybe since then an inch or 2 of the body, but it really doesn't look much different than the last time I showed it to you, so I didn't bother bringing it in. Just didn't seem much point. The other project I've been working on quite a bit is Sea Gleam by Helen Stewart. Looks like that. And this is shawl number 1 from the 4th Shawl Society. And I am knitting it out of Fleece Artist, good Canadian yarn company. It's Saldana in the Sea Spray colorway. And I know in the description, Helen says something about spotting the sea from a distance and the gleam. The first glimpse of the sea, it is a moment of pure magic. And when I saw the name of this yarn and saw the color of it, it just reminded me of the, when you do see the ocean in a distance, or a lake even, and it has that kind of bluish gray, sparkling look to it. That's what this reminded me of. So when I spotted this yarn, I knew it was perfect. The only thing is that it's a lace weight, not a fingering weight yarn, but held double, it acts as a fingering very well. And so that's what I've been doing. And I have finished the first garter stitch lace section of the shawl. And then you can see I did the there's a whole row of eyelets that then moves into a stockinette section of lace. And I believe I am about, I think last night I hit 45% finished. Helen uses this great percentage system. Actually, the pattern's right here. I can take a look. Yes, I just finished 45%, and I have just over 55% of my yarn remaining. So I'm right on track to having enough yarn to finish the shawl as written. Last week I wasn't sure because I was like dead on the percentage as I was knitting it up, and I thought I might have to eliminate a couple of rows at the end, but it looks like I might be okay. I think part of what it is that the stockinette is using less yarn than the garter for some reason. Maybe my knit stitches are using more yarn than my purl stitches. I'm not sure, but it seems to be after I started that section that I started to sort of have a little bit extra every time I weighed it. So anyway, I'm very happy with this. Another great project for sitting around and not having to pay a ton of attention, because the lace rows only come around every 4 rows, and it's a really easy repeat. You don't, once you start, you just don't have to think about a lot as you continue it. So yeah, happy with that. How it's coming along too. So I'm happy with all my projects. But having said that, now that I finished those Samphire socks, I am really itching to cast something else on. Only I don't know what. I don't know if I want to do a different shawl or another pair of patterned socks. I know one of my goals this year is to design a pattern, so I keep thinking about what I might do there. In the meantime, when I can't decide, I just pick up one of my other projects that I just start knitting and contemplating as I knit away on those. So by next week, you'll know what I've come up with, if anything. What I'm reading, I just yesterday finished Crooked House by Agatha Christie. I usually don't read during the day. I usually just read at night before bed, and I just reached the point where I really wanted to know who done it. And so yesterday morning I went outside, I sat on our deck under cover, so it wasn't too hot, and just polished it off. I really enjoyed this one. As I mentioned last week, there were some characters that I really took to right from the beginning, and there was quite just some very interesting characters overall in this book, and it really had me stumped, and I was pretty sure I had it all figured out, and then of course she threw a twist in at the end. And I won't give away who done it, but I have to say it was kind of a disturbing twist at the end, kind of dark. And I know murder is dark anyway, but this one in particular left me feeling kind of, yeah, not let down, because I thought it was well done, but just, yeah, it was kind of sad, kind of a not satisfying ending, if you know what I mean. So anyway, that's what I been reading, and last night I was just too tired to read before bed. I had picked up the next Agatha Christie, and I literally opened the page and it's like, oh, I just don't have what it takes to get into a new book right now. So I just put it down and turned out the light. All right, so that's all there is as far as knitting and reading are concerned. Once again, this week I've been spending a fair bit of time outside doing other things, and so unfortunately my knitting, or my crafting in general, and reading have suffered for it. But that's just kind of what happens this time of year. I'm just grateful for the good weather that allows me to get some of those things done. So what's been going on around here this week? Well, unfortunately, we had some bad news actually last week. I knew this before I recorded last week, but wasn't at liberty to talk about it because it wasn't widely known at the time. But our youngest son and his girlfriend have broken up. And on the bright side, it's not a contentious, angry breakup, and so I'm grateful for that. But nevertheless, of course, it's hard on everyone concerned, and she's been part of our family for the past few years, and we expected her to continue to be so for years to come. So it's tough for us to have lost that part of our family. But at the same time, if it's not right, it's not right. And I'm just really grateful that it's not, a really big, angry, dramatic event. So our son stayed with us for about the last week while they worked things out, and while she moved things. They were living in his condo, so he gave her sort of time and space to get things done, and has now moved back home again. So yeah, so that was sort of the overriding thing on my mind for the past week or so, but thankfully there's plenty of good things that have happened too. We had a really, really good long weekend last weekend. So Monday was Victoria Day, which is to celebrate Queen Victoria's birthday. We used to actually often call this the May 24th long weekend, even though it didn't always land on May 24th. And what I read before I recorded today is that May 24th is actually Queen Victoria's birthday. And Victoria Day is also supposed to be the day we celebrate the current king or queen's birthday. And to be honest, I don't think any of us pay much mind to that. It just kicks off the sort of summer season in Canada. It's a weekend where a lot of people head to their cabins or go camping for the first time in the year. It's usually a fairly nice weekend. So what I didn't realize till I read it is that today, May 24th, is actually the 200th anniversary of Queen Victoria's birth. So she was born in 1819. So there, fun fact that you may not have known. So I think, as I mentioned last week, we were supposed to get some rain, some sun over the weekend. Well, it turned out Saturday and Sunday were both very nice days. We spent Saturday morning was kind of laid back, and then we went and ran some errands, picked up some other things for our backyard, like some new chairs and side tables for the other end of the deck, and the fountain I had received for Mother's Day last year had been leaking, and we were able to exchange it for a new one. So we got that home and set up. And then when we were away on Mother's Day, my husband had told me that he and the boys were going in on this metal hanging picture for our deck. And so we went and picked that up on Saturday too, and put it up. So I'll put a picture of it here. You can see it's a hummingbird to keep with our theme down there. And then I think, trying to remember, I think Saturday evening we just kind of chilled. And then my husband really wanted to go golfing on Sunday. And I didn't want to spend the whole day on the golf course. There were some jobs I knew that really needed to get done outside while the weather was good, and I knew Monday was supposed to be really rainy. So we compromised. So we went golfing Sunday morning, did 9 holes, and then we did yard work in the afternoon. And I'm glad we did, because there were definitely some jobs that needed to be done. And so then for kind of happy hour, our daughter and her husband and the grandkids came over for a visit. So they were here for a couple of hours, and we sat out on the deck. And it was just really a nice way to end the day. We were pretty tired. It had been quite hot that day. By the time we finished golfing, it was warm. And then we came home, had some lunch, and then went to work in the yard. And my husband especially got kind of overheated because he did not stop and drink enough water. He's really bad about that. You would think by now he would know that he overheats really easily, but apparently not. After kind of a cool shower, though, he felt quite a bit better. So I'm happy to report that the hummingbirds have returned. Now, I knew that the Anna's hummingbirds, which are the birds we have around all year long, I knew it was nesting season. And I also knew that the Rufous hummingbirds that we just get for the summer wouldn't arrive until like sort of mid-spring. So actually, when I was at the store a couple weeks ago buying birdseed, there was actually they have like a whiteboard outside their door that they have little, information on, and it said right there, "Where are the hummingbirds? Don't worry, they're coming back soon." So sure enough, this past week we've been seeing the hummingbirds quite frequently, and they have discovered their hummingbird garden, which thrills me to no end. So adjacent on 2 sides of the deck, I've planted flowers that are especially attractive to hummingbirds, and they have been finding them. I'm just so thrilled about that. But we had a couple of unexpected visitors to our garden also. The first was on Sunday, and we had cleaned up after the yard work. We were sitting on that end of the deck, waiting for Jessica and her family to show up. And we were just chatting, and then out of the corner of my eye spotted some movement, and a rabbit hopped out from underneath the deck. And so then we sat really still, and it went out a little bit and chewed on some dried grass, and then it kind of got spooked and went back under the deck, and it came out and in and out several times while we were there. And then I thought it might be spooked by all the noise once the kids got there, but as it was, it came out again while they were there, and came out, started nibbling on some of the petunias in the garden. It's like, uh-oh, maybe that's not such a good thing, and a little bit on the grass, and then it eventually hopped away, and I haven't seen it since. There are a few flowers that have been, flower petals that have been nibbled down, but I don't know that it's been back since that day. But it was just kind of neat to have one so close, and the kids got a good look at it. Although we didn't tell our youngest grandchild it was there, because she probably would have scared it away. Where our grandson, he's 8, he was able to go fairly close and be still enough to observe it without spooking it. And then, was it yesterday morning or the day before? I can't remember, but I just glanced out the window, our bedroom window, which looks down on that same end of the deck where the gardens are. And I spotted on one of the chairs a yellow bird with a red head. And we get the goldfinches, which are yellow, but it wasn't a goldfinch. And what I realized is it was a western tanager. So there's a picture of it, this bird here, on the front of this bird book. And then there's a photo of it in this one. So I saw one of these years and years and years ago up at the lake that is close to where our cabin is. I've never seen one here, although a friend of ours a few years ago, oops, I just jiggled the camera, sorry. A few years ago, a friend of ours who lives out of town a little ways, I can't remember if he showed me a picture or if he just described it to me, but he had a pair of them at his property. And I was so jealous. But anyway, I saw it, and then I ran for my camera. By the time I got back, it was gone. But all it left behind was a little poop on the chair. But anyway, it's always really neat to see an uncommon bird. I believe it was just passing through. I don't expect to see it again. This type of bird lives more in woodlands, and we are definitely, our area where I live is not woodlands. That's more on the hillsides and things from where I am. So anyway, that really made my day. I just wish I'd gotten a picture. Let me see, what else? I think that's about it. So I know in the US you have Memorial Day weekend coming up, so I think that's sort of a similar thing to our Victoria Day weekend, in that it's sort of the kickoff to summer and holidays and such. Although I do realize Memorial Day, I think, is a lot like our Remembrance Day, where we remember our soldiers. So hope all of you have a good long weekend there. And something good. It's a simple thing, but often the good things are simple things. So a couple of nights this week, I've laid awake listening to the rain falling and then gone to sleep to that sound. We have both our neighbors on either side of us have drain pipes or gutters that are broken or whatever, and the water will fall on the out of the, not saying this very well, instead of just being carried away in the gutters and the drain pipes, it falls, and so makes that pattering sound. And I personally really love that sound. So yeah, last night and then a couple of nights ago, I kind of fell asleep to that noise of the rain and the falling water. So that's my something good. And yeah, I guess that's it. So we don't have a lot going on this weekend, which suits me just fine. We do have a few more jobs. We always have jobs, but I think, especially, I know tomorrow's not supposed to be very nice either, so we should have a fair bit of time this weekend to just kind of chill. I'm looking forward to that. I've got my half-finished Lilac Ridge quilt where I can see it over there, and I'm thinking I might get back to that this coming week. As I said, I'm really itching to cast on something new, so perhaps by next week you will know what that is. But yeah, other than that, life is kind of up in the air right now. No definitive plans for anything too exciting, but that's okay. In a few weeks, I know we've got a golf tournament that we're participating in, and then my husband's going golfing the weekend after. And I know we want to go away for a few days. We're talking about at some point going up to the cabin just on our own for several days. Just don't quite know when that's going to happen, but kind of itching to do that. We haven't really had a holiday all on our own for probably a year and a half, so it's kind of time just to get that. Because even though if you're home and not doing a lot, you still have responsibilities, where if you go away for a few days, you can just leave real life behind for a little while. I think we're both ready for that. Yeah, I guess that's it. So yes, my neighbors to the south, have a wonderful long weekend. All the best to all the rest of you. Enjoy your coming week. Hope you get to do things that you love, and take care. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.